What's up everyone, and welcome back to another Path of Exile 2 market analysis video. So first off, if you are totally new to these kinds of videos or you haven't discovered the channel before, I recommend that you check out the Discord server in the video description, because we have a lot of explanation there, and we also offer a couple of different services that might help you to make a lot of divines. So one of those services would, for example, be our fund bank, where you can invest your divines into, and we'll reinvest them for you, and you'll have your wallet, your share of the profit grow as we grow the divines. So if you are interested in that, go ahead and check out our Discord server, read through the welcome channel, and then read through the fund info channel, and you'll have all the information that you need. So to get started with the actual analysis and the point of this video, we want to understand a couple of different things. And those things are that every single currency inside the game trades at a certain market ratio. You can see the buy offers for a currency right here and the sell offers over here. And if we log those data points, and sadly we cannot do this through an API, we need to manually write down these different numbers, then we can determine what trend an omen is following, or any currency inside the game, and then we can determine if they will rise in value or if they will drop in value. Of course, this also has to do with newer patches and also some other things like player count and player base, like new builds, for example, that are especially good at doing something. And all of that stuff together makes this this market ratio grow in value, or it will reduce in value. So if we are looking at the data that we have logged so far, which is accessible through the Excel document in the video description. This is the Excel document right here. Though please download it, otherwise you won't see these beautiful graphs. And if we look at these different tables right here, the short-term development table and the long-term development table, we can look at what's happening right here, and we can look at what's happening up here. And to determine what trend our current currency is following, we want to look at different patterns, and we want to look at outbreaks. And the biggest outbreak that we have right now are two different things. It's that the Omen of Sinister Erasure, and let me get it real quick, and the Omen of Dexter Erasure are significantly increasing in value. And that is a slight indication of an uptrend, because usually there's one of the omens that's going for an extreme uptrend and then everything else is following, right? Because crafters are usually buying a lot of items and then they're using one of the omens first to enhance that item to a certain degree. And that makes that omen rise in value. But at some point they will need other omens, and that will make omens follow. So what I'm talking about is basically big guilds or big crafters trying to craft very, very good items, and for that reason the omen prices are skyrocketing. Again, this could also be an indication of just more players playing the game and omens being harder to farm or something like that. So if we use that indicator, we could expect that another omen that might be undervalued right now, like for example, let me get one right here. Let's look at what's undervalued. The Omen of Dexter Erasure, which you can see has significantly decreased before and is now increasing a lot. This could mean that the Omen of Dexter Erasure is going for an absolute skyrocket. Of course, this is purely speculation, and it doesn't allow us to completely use that info to put all of our fund into it. So what we do from here is we'll determine if a currency is going to rise below a certain value threshold, or if it's going to go above it. And that value threshold is usually, when you look at the data for the different days, is usually something that hasn't been reached before. So if we, for example, look at the Dexter Erasure Omen right now, it's at 3.73 divines. And the lowest that it went to was 3 divines, which was yesterday. and now it's at 3.73. So if we look at the past, how many times has 3.73 been reached? We can see it has been low for 3 days now, and then before that one we had one, and then a couple of days before we also had one. So it went above 3.73 a lot of times. It even went up to 5 once, or 4.7, 4.8, and that allows us to determine that this is not the threshold, the total threshold for the Dexter Eraser omen. So we can expect that this omen might rise above the 4.0 mark or even the 4.5 mark, because these values have been reached before, and for the market it's not impossible to reach that. So of course this is just one thought process and just something that I came up now, and it's not really everything that we're doing with, for example, the fund, where I'm writing down all of these different ideas and then checking in with the team what kind of opinion they have on that, for example. But for just an example analysis, this is pretty good, and it could be that the omen of Dexter Erasure rises in value to tomorrow. And that is, of course, applicable to everything that you can see right here. You just have to find something that's kind of undervalued and that hasn't reached, or that has reached a certain threshold before, that you can now expect it to rise to. So that's basically the gist of it, and you can already use that to a certain degree just by looking at the short-term development graph. So go ahead and check that out if you're interested. If you are not, put your divines into the fund, or just put your divines into a few Dextral Erasure omens. So yeah, to get to the long-term developments, we have still the same thing that we had since the beginning of the season. And that is that the chaos is the best valued currency inside the game. So if you are buying the chaos and you're not trading anything else, you're just keeping the chaos, you'll be keeping the value of your chaos orbs indefinitely. If you are buying divines and you're keeping the divines, then your value is kind of retained, but it's not perfect, because the divine often drops below, for example, the fracture orb graph or even some of the omen graphs, which basically means that sometimes even omens are less volatile than the divine orb. And that obviously makes the divine orb a pretty bad currency, because omens are very, very volatile, as you can see in these graphs. So invest your stash into chaos orbs if you're trying to keep their long-term value. So that's about it for today, I believe. If you have any questions on the different things that I explained to you, you can of course ask in the comment section, or you can ask in the Discord server. And if you are very interested in this kind of topic and how we have grown the divines, you are also welcome to look at the investor wallet tab, where you can see everyone that has invested so far and when they have invested, and then to how much their wallet grew in value from how much the fund increased in value. So check that out, guys. Check out the Discord server, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next one. I'm out.